Flying out of the skies and onto your lap, here come the stewardesses of Fly Me.
Hi, I'm Sherry. Buy a ticket and I come free.
4 American stewardesses hijacked into wild adventure, battling the flying fists of kung fu killers. Action, Oriental style. Love, the American way. Take a flight on the wild side with the stewardesses of Fly Me.
Fly Me, rated R.
You are listening to They Must Be Destroyed on Sight. The following podcast contains adult language, adult situations, and spoilers for the movies discussed occur often. You've been warned. Now, take it away, Dr. Rausch.
They must be destroyed on sight.
Hello, welcome back. It is They Must Be Destroyed on Sight, episode 238. And I'm your host, Lee. You'll be able to see the famous Pacific Ocean, Russell. I'm joined by my co-host, Lee. You walk slower, something happens. Hardy, how you doing, ma'am?
Something always happens when you walk slower.
Mm-hmm.
Just finding food.
Finding food that you're racist against, yes. Yeah. And we have a special guest this time out, a returning special guest, friend of the show, Gary. I'm not just a doctor, I'm a bone specialist. Hill, how you doing, sir?
That's special, man. I'm doing fine, you know.
Being a bone doctor and all.
That's like I'm not a master. I forget the words now. Master debater is the punchline to it, you know. But it fits this film very nice.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
I almost masturbated myself.
There you go.
That was on American Dad.
No.
I just saw that episode. I laughed so hard.
Yeah. So here we go to the other end of the spectrum from last episode where we covered Citizen Kane. This time out, we're going to be doing Fly Me from 1973, which is decidedly not Citizen Kane in every way other than the fact that it's also a series of moving pictures with sound. That's about the only similarity. I have it on good authority that...
We got this, man. We got this by the ass.
All right.
Perfect, baby. Perfect.
I think we got it. So we can move right into what we've watched in the last little while, and I'll throw over to you first there, Gary.
If you guys have heard, we did The Driver on episode 2 of the Walter Hill Show, which took on the Last Call of Torchies. So I decided to look into more Ronnie Blakely material. It's out there, and in the Robert Altman film Nashville, she sings, and she sings very well. I've never seen it before. I got it for a $5 on the digital platform, and it's a beautiful film, and it's very sad film. If you watch to the end, it's very sad. You got Henry Gibson in there and a bunch of other people. And the cool thing about the film, and I didn't know until I watched the credits, is that they all wrote and performed their own music in there. Mm-hmm. And that makes it more special to me. And
it's got Shelley Duvall looking super fucking hot.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Karen Black looking good as a cowboy chick. I kind of bring Karen Black. She's great in there too. Altman, I've always been a Popeye guy, but that's because I came out when I watched it when I was a shorty. So
I used to see it on A&E all the time.
It will always be my favorite for some reason, no matter how many films he's made, how many great films he's made. I know Popeye's not a great film, but I still happen to enjoy it quite a bit. I still get really excited at the end when Popeye winds his fist up and knocks out the octopus out of the water. I get really excited, you know.
Yeah,
it's like the end of Nacho Libre. I know Nacho's going to beat him. I know he's going to win, but I still get really excited when it happens, you know.
I like me some Nacho Libre. That's a good film.
Because of all the
I
little
haven't seen that one.
all the little Mexican orphans, they're relying on him. Yeah, I get really excited,
All right, sounds like a soon upcoming date night, Lee. We're gonna have to watch Nacho Libre now.
There we go. We'll do it.
Yeah, so, besides that, a bunch of Joe Bob stuff to catch up on. I'm an old man who can't stay awake when Joe Bob is on TV live, I guess. So I watched the reruns on Shudder, which is okay too. So I saw Dead and Buried for the first time, and that ain't not bad.
Yeah. I love that movie. I mean, after you see it once, it's like, okay, I know what the ending twist is, but it's still pretty fucking creepy all the way through. And you got Robert Englund in an early role, and you got the grandpa from Willy Wonka, his last role, I think.
He's very sick throughout it too. You can tell how frail he is, and it kind of fits the role. That's a fun one.
What? The grandfather's dead?
Well, technically, no spoiler. Technically, he is. So
yeah,
watch the film. Okay, it's good.
It is. It's a nice, creepy little fucking film. Technically, a zombie film. So yeah. Okay, I know you don't have anything, Lee, so I'll just briefly mention a couple things here. Like Gary, I do a lot of Shudder watching as of late. I watched Here Comes Hell from 2019, it just looked interesting to me, so I decided to watch it one afternoon. It's a movie where it's black and white. It's set in the 1930s, and it's kind of somewhat shot and acted in that style. And it's sort of a fake-out, though. At first, I didn't realize this was kind of a horror comedy. So, like, for the first 20 minutes or so, they kind of play it straight. The acting's kind of theatrical. And I'm like, okay, I can roll with it. It's a little goofy, but I think they're going to go serious with this shit, right? And then it flips the script. And then out of nowhere, it's basically Evil Dead set in the 1930s because like all these people show up at this old English manor. It's very spooky. They have a seance. Then all of a sudden there's demons possessing everybody, basically. And then the gore is also right out of the 1980s. It goes into those gore effects. Some of it's CGI stuff that doesn't quite work, but for the most part, it just becomes this crazy, like, kind of gore-filled film that kind of loses its direction. It's more about the characters just trying to survive at some point. And so it does kind of lose its steam after a while, but I thought it was an interesting little experiment that's kind of worth checking out if you have, like, nothing better to do. The other one I'll mention is Vigilante from 1982, which is an excellent, excellent film. The William Lustig film of Maniac Cop fame, but I think this might be his best film. It's got Robert Forster. It's got Fred Williamson, and it is what it says on the tin. Basically, it's a vigilante film, very much in the Death Wish sort of mold, but way more extreme. And also, I think in a way, it's a bit more cathartic, but it's also a bit more sad by the end of it. In Death Wish, the big sort of twist on that is basically, Charles Bronson actually never gets the people who get his wife and daughter, right? Like he kills a bunch of other people, but he never gets the people who actually, do the crimes. And this one, the people who actually commit the crimes against Robert Forster eventually get killed. But at the end of it, his life is just totally ruined, and like his wife leaves him, and like there's like consequences. But I think maybe the only thing I didn't like about the film is it doesn't really wrap up a bunch of its subplots and stuff, and it takes a little too long to get to the end. Like there's all these side characters and things that happen that it maybe focuses on a little too much. But it's still like one of the best exploitation films ever made, I think. It's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, you will refer to him as the Hammer and nothing else, man. Come on now.
I can't help but be a little soured by like reports of what a creepy is in real life, apparently. But
well, when you read the Hammer's contract, I'm not surprised that he's kind of creepy with the women and stuff,
It's always unfortunate when that happens, though.
I'm not endorsing creepiness, but it is in his contract for every movie that he's ever had that he doesn't die, that he gets the girl. So it's
it almost makes me feel like what's that that latest film he was in where the accusations came out of VWF or whatever.
Oh yeah,
or VFW. He dies in that one. He doesn't get the girl. So, and it almost feels like maybe they did a last minute script rewrite because of shit going on in that movie. Yeah.
Was he harassing the females on the set or something?
Apparently so. Like that's when that's like the first time I heard accusations against him. Right, kind of came out of that film. So unfortunately, but I mean, beside that, separate artist from the art. This is probably Fred Williamson's best fucking role. I'd say he's pretty fucking good in this movie. He's fucking stone cold. Just and the way Lustig shoots him too, and where he takes out like the bad guy he's been kind of hunting throughout the film or whatever, and the way he just sort of coldly dispatches him and shit. Pretty effectively done, I thought.
I'm big on Black Caesar as well. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, it's good stuff. All right. So we are going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about Fly Me.
Howdy, folks. Like blood, violence, and freaks and nature.
You come to the right place. My name is Gary, and I'm your guide to Sin and Beef Podcast. Every episode, we not only deliver film reviews, we also dismantle some of your favorite and most hated films. Sometimes for the better, and sometimes for the worse.
Hey, you shut your face! If we want to hear you talk, I will shove my arm up your ass and work him out like a puppet.
All right, calm down. Every show I hope to have a new co-host, podcasters, listeners alike. That's right, I'm talking to you people. I take all comers.
You're slapped.
That's not very nice. The only rules, well, let's ask the best cooler in the business.
All you have to do is follow 3 simple rules. 1, never underestimate your opponent. Expect the unexpected. 2, take it outside. Never start anything inside the bar unless it's absolutely necessary. And 3, be nice.
So join the insanity and please vent your frustrations. I'm available on TalkShoe, iTunes, and Stitcher Smart Radio. And remember, here at the Sin and Beef Podcast, if you got beef, I've got the grinder.
I don't think it's ever been more fitting that I played that little piece of music, other than when we did the cheerleaders many episodes back, but where that's from. But yeah, all right. Fly Me from 1973. This is directed by Cirio H. Santiago, and this guy is actually a pretty big heavy hitter when it comes to B movies. He's like the Filipino or Roger Corman, basically director, producer, writer. 95 directing credits alone on his resume. Known for stuff over here, TNT Jackson and Firecracker. Long running production partnership with Roger Corman, which to his benefit, gave him, proper distribution in the U.S. for a lot of his movies. So they had a pretty good partnership for quite a while. There's some secondary directing going on here as well. Jonathan Demme of Silence of the Lambs and Caged Heat fame did the Kung Fu scenes in here under, I think he's actually using the fake name David Chow, if I'm not mistaken.
It says Demme in the credits. I've seen it on the version I watched.
Maybe there was a couple people doing them then, but I know he did do some of the kung fu scenes here. And we also got Curtis Hanson, who did like The Hand Rocks the Cradle, The River Wild, LA Confidential. He does the opening taxi scene with with Dick Miller.
Yes.
So there you go. This is written by Miller Drake. He's got one directing credit for Piranha 2: The Spawning with James Cameron. He wasn't credited with that one, but he went on to work with Cameron here, and we'll get into that. But he also has one assistant directing credit for Alligator, which is pretty cool. But he's more of a visual effects guy, I guess. Like a lot of these people under the Roger Corman banner, you did a little bit of everything, right? And you sort of found your niche, and you sort of leave and go on and do that sort of stuff for the rest of your career or whatever. You know, a lot of these people sort of did that. So he does more visual effects now, editing and supervising. He worked on The Abyss, Terminator 2, Judgment Day, Cliffhanger, JFK, The Bourne Ultimatum, Green Lantern, and Fast and the Furious. So he's done a little bit of everything, but I think like Last Action Hero and other stuff too. Like he's got a lot of visual effects credits. So get into the cast here a little bit. Our three female leads here. Pat Anderson is Toby. She's probably had the best theatrical career here out of all of them. She went on to do TNT Jackson, Newman's Law, Angel of Heat. Lenore Kasdorf as Andrea. She has a few credits. Probably the most notable one as far as movies goes is she's in Starship Troopers. She plays Johnny Rico's mom in Starship Troopers. But her career actually is probably the longest lived of all three of these women because she has a long TV career. If you look at it, she just did a ton of TV right up to the 2000s, a bunch of soap operas and other stuff. So
you don't say.
Is that a remark on her acting ability right there? Is that what?
Just wait for my comments.
Okay.
You see, a lot of those films mentioned are supposedly good films, and I'll tell you what. Not many can do a Firecracker did, where the girl does kung fu, but she does a topless. So there's that.
Yeah. Firecracker's definitely one we should do on the show at some point. And we also have Lila Tornia, and I think that's just one of her many stage names as Sherry, because from what I read somewhere, apparently she's also got a porn career on the side that's not credited in IMDb. So she
why not?
I don't know, but she only has she's only got like a handful of credits as far as legit films go, quote unquote. So there you go.
Ghost Beaver Cake is on IMDb. How is a porn movie not on IMDb?
I don't know. There is plenty of porn on IMDb. It's just like it's hard to find like 70s and 80s porn for a lot of these actresses and stuff, because they were like in the industry and then they were out of it really quick, or they just sort of disappeared. And a lot of IMDb depends on like either the people who actually did it or people who are like historians to actually fill in the fucking blanks. And if they don't do it, then it's just not on IMDb, right?
The more embarrassing ones will be right there in front of your face. Scott Schwartz in, pick that out, the kid from The Christmas Story did pornography, people. You didn't know that.
Yeah. Richard Young is Doctor. Naomi Stevens is Toby's mother. And then we have the great Dick Miller, international treasure, not just national treasure, as the taxi driver. 111 acting credits. Really got to start with Corman doing stuff like Not of This Earth. Had his own starring vehicle, A Bucket of Blood, as Walter Paisley, which is a role that he repeated many times over through his career, at least playing characters called Walter Paisley.
There's got to be a count somewhere how many times you play Walter Paisley. I don't know where that's at, but there's got to be a count. Yeah,
someone must know. But was also in the original Little Shop of Horrors, Piranha, Rock and Roll High School, often cast by Corman alumni Joe Dante in his films. So you see him in like The Howling and Gremlins, The Burbs. He shows up in Terminator. He does all these nice, cool little roles as like this, edgy, angsty little kind of like guy who doesn't take shit from people, but then ends up getting killed because he doesn't take shit from people. kind of shit. He's fucking fantastic.
The line in Terminator is the best. I made clothes earlier today. Yeah, no shit, man. Here it comes.
Yeah. You're closing for the rest of your life, and that's like 30 seconds from now.
I just remember having Demon Knight.
Yes, I love Demon Knight.
Yeah,
me too. That's when I first discovered him. Like
it's so overshadowed by Billy Zane, though. So that makes it hard to say. Oh yeah, Dick Miller's in that movie.
Billy Zane did such a good job in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
That was just his movie.
We have Ken Metcalf as Donald, and then we have another great in Vic Diaz as Enrique's chief of police. 155 acting credits, known for playing Filipino exploitation cinema villains for the most part. Quentin Tarantino referred to him as the Filipino Peter Lorre, and I think that's probably pretty spot on in a way.
Yeah.
He just did so many films, a lot of them with our director here, Santiago. He did The Losers, The Big Birdcage, Black Mama, White Mama, Savage Sisters, Firecracker, Raw Force. Those are sort of like the ones that, most sort of North American audience will probably know him for. Excellent guy. Like, if you ever needed a film where you had like strong, empowered females trying to break out of like a Filipino prison or something like that, and you needed like the dirtiest, sleaziest, most rapey fucking prison warden or guard or whatever, Vic Diaz, you call him up.
He had a look for sure, man, and that was it.
Yeah. Although he doesn't really play one of those in this movie. Like, he's in it for like a cup of coffee, but he's actually very well dressed in this movie. He's actually well kept, which is weird to see. So we have a synopsis here that I pulled from Wikipedia because the IMDb one was literally the tagline, sexy stewardess fight kung fu killers or whatever the fuck it was. So 3 young flight attendants fly from Los Angeles, California to Hong Kong. Toby's mother has followed her on the plane, and Toby tries to lose her so she can romance a doctor, David. Andrea's lover, Donald, has gone missing. Sherry is smuggling drugs and is kidnapped by a white slave ring. And yeah, that is what happens. There's actually 3 different plots in this film, if you can believe it or not. But yeah, we'll kind of get into it here. I'll go over to you first, Gary, for your general thoughts on this one.
Well, you mentioned Dick Miller. It starts right out that way where you see Dick Miller in a cab and he's got sideburns, and all of a sudden, hey, boobs, and so you knew right away what kind of movie you were going to get. This is just like, Gas Pump Girls or something like that, though I think I like Gas Pump Girls a little more. Mm-hmm. But that's here nor there. They all have the same formula. Somebody's going to lose their top at 1 or 14 times during the picture, and that's how you sell to the driving audience. Mm-hmm. Like you said, this film's got like 3 plots going at once, and I had fun with it. These women who I guess are on a layover in the Philippines. This is what's going on here. A super long layover.
Yeah, there's a lot of laying going on in that.
And like planes that go and come back and go, and I don't even know.
So they're there for a long time, enough to become drug smugglers and possibly in a sex ring and hanging out with mom, talking about cold cuts because she's Italian, of course, and I like good cold cut, too. You called me the worst
Italian. Said Lee calls me the worst Italian.
Well, I mean, at least this Italian mother, was sticking to her principles and was like, being a perfect Italian stereotype. I mean, come on now.
A little capicola, little prosciutto on that sandwich. Come on, man, it's good stuff.
Give me a little mozzarella or something. Give me some meats. Give me something. Like the.
My noni used to call it the wet one. That's the fresh mozzarella. Give me the mozzarella, the wet one. But you just tell it then. No, it's a fun little 75 minutes, and that's all it should be, because if it was any more, I'd be lost in whatever plot's going on in this movie. It sounds like I'm bitching, but I'm not bitching at all, because I knew again, as soon as you get that opening scene, you know what kind of movie you're going to have, and I'm all in at that point, so I'll leave it for the other discussions. Go for it.
Lee.
Oh my god. It took me, so I watched the whole movie yesterday, and the whole plot was so unclear that I had to watch it a second time. Yeah, exactly. Plot in quotations. I was watching it and I got so distracted. Like, I couldn't stay focused on it. I struggled. I was messaging you today being like, I have to watch the end half again because I don't remember. Like, I remember seeing it and I was watching it and I saw all this, but my brain literally registered none of it. Like, it was just done. It was like, what is going on? I can't focus on anything. Like, the only thing that I got excited for was to see boobs, and half the time at the end it was ruined because it was for rapey reasons. So I lost that enjoyment of seeing those boobs. Like, it wasn't that fun booby movie where you get excited to see boobs. It was like this, ooh, boobs at the beginning that are really fun. Ooh, this girl who's like super horny. Ooh, this is gonna be fun. And then you just go on and watch and you're like, what am I watching? What is going on? Where's this story going? Like, the second half just felt so rushed where they're like, oh shit, we should put in the storyline of why we made this movie. Like, it was a rough watch.
There's like 3 different movies jammed into 75 minutes, which, you know, is...
Hold on. There was 3 different short stories jammed into one.
I mean, I've seen every one of these stories stretched into actual movies before. So, I mean, like...
But the way they did it, that's what it's kind of...
Yeah, because you have your main character, quote unquote, Toby, who's really just the comic relief of the entire film. Like, her story is the most, you know, flighty fluff piece of the whole thing. She's just the young, kind of like slightly innocent new flight attendant who is really attracted to this dumbass doctor and wants to fuck him really hard, and he's trying to fuck her, and her mother is, you know, protecting her. You know, she's like a living, breathing chastity belt, following her around on airplanes and stuff, making sure she doesn't get fucked, basically.
See, that's where they get the giddy.
So much to say about that.
They get the giddy part wrong, see, because that guy's got a good job. She keep that guy, and the mom would have no problem with that. You know?
He's not Italian, though.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, because that's the big thing.
You can't see it, but Lee's talking with her hands right now. You know, that's something people do sometimes.
But
I'm only half.
So
that's,
you get,
that's enough, you know. Depends where your family's at.
So you get that story, right? And then you have the secondary story, which is really kind of the main story, which is the other girl who has this man friend that she's been having some sort of on-off thing with in Hong Kong who's disappeared. And he's up to some shady shit. He ends up being the big bad of the film, basically. But she's trying to find him, and she sort of hooks up with this local Chinese guy who's helping her out to try to find out where this guy disappeared to. And then there's all this shady sex ring stuff. And then there's the third character who's the most horny out of all 3 of them, who, you know, she's in like in the opening where, you know, it's all fun and games on the plane. She's banging the pilot in, you know, in the bathroom and shit, Mile High Club and all that stuff. And she gets on the wrong side of the sex ring that the other guy's running because her boyfriend or whatever is part of that sex ring. She was smuggling drugs, and she decided, I'm going to keep like half of them for myself, I guess. And then so she gets, you know, she fucks up. She kind of gets what's coming to her, but, you know.
Can we take a minute to recognize the fact that you don't see that in the movie? They just tell you.
Yeah, they tell you a lot of stuff this
movie, literally, that's what I was saying. It's 3 short stories because they tell you everything that's happening. Mm-hmm. Like, hold on a second. The lead, or not the lead girl, the lead story, the main story, the girl, Andrea, gets attacked how many times? And it's not even a conversation piece. Like, it's not even anything. She just comes back. She's like, "Oh, I had such a weird day today." Like,
she seems kind of used to getting attacked. I think. Like, it seems like it happens a lot to her.
The blind guy in the woods who in the park had like immaculate accuracy, and then he just disappears again. Like, there's no storyline with him. He just appears and disappears. I don't even know if he's good. He got the shot right. He was supposed to be there. Is he supposed to be the hero? Is he supposed to be a bad guy who fucked up?
I thought he was supposed to be a bad guy, and that's one of the like. So there's these kung fu scenes, right? So the Andrea character.
Hold on. There's these awful kung fu scenes.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to defend them. Okay, let's not get that twisted. So she's being she's being hunted down. You know, like these guys are like I guess she knows too much or some shit, so they're trying to hunt her down and get rid of her. So she ended up getting in these kung fu fights with people, and so yeah, they're really poor. They're very goofy.
Her body double is not at all matching at all. It does not match at all.
I'm not
like the hair changes. They don't even have the same, not even close to the same hair. The hair changes length and the body size changes too. Like, so bad.
Well, like when you see her do her own stunts in a couple of the scenes, like a couple of the scenes she does her own martial arts, you find out real quick why she had a double doing most of the shit, because she's bad. She's really bad.
She is bad, but they could at least gotten the hair right. Kept the illusion right.
It's bad. It's bad in big Hollywood movies too, though, Lee. Have you seen a film called Wildcats before with Goldie Hawn, where she's a football coach?
Oh yeah.
No, I haven't.
There's a part where Woody Harrelson is going to go catch the pass, and he jumps in the air, and it's clearly a black guy catching the ball. And then he comes down as Woody Harrelson with the ball. You know?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to bring this up again because, like, our movie was, like, stupid cheap budget, and we had stunt doubles for Ghost Beaver Kit because he couldn't be there all the time. You can barely fucking tell, and we had no goddamn budget and a limited amount of people we could use. I'm going to hold so many people at, like, a very high criteria for this shit because we had nothing, and we were able to make it work. So all of you with the fucking money, you should be able to get this right. Come on.
I mean, though, to the credit of the martial arts scenes in this, the first one does feature both our Andrea getting disrobed by the guy trying to kill her, and then her giving him a knockout punch to the dick, which is the first time I've ever seen that on film. Someone getting punched in the dick and then going unconscious. That's
I would have enjoyed it more if it was better done. I'm sorry, I'm really bitter with the fight scenes. like I love fight scenes. I love cheesy fight scenes. I love the over exaggeration, the stupidness, all of it. This was not even cheesy or over exaggeration. It was just bad.
She was trying to put the damsel in distress, like playing with him, you know. And doing it poorly. All of a sudden, she rips the shirt, turns into a ghetto house mother. Oh no, you didn't! And she punches them in the dick, you know. And that's that's the equivalency of pulling somebody's weave out of their hair in a fight. I guess is her shirt ripped, you know. She beats up
that Bruce Lee stand-in who, to his credit, he puts on some fighting gloves before he engages her. You know, he's like,
was he one of the fake Bruce Lees? I thought I recognized him from one of those movies at least.
I don't think he is. I don't think that's it's not Bruce Lee or anybody like that. But I mean, I'm sure he's been in a million things. But I didn't check up on that. But didn't you have the scene that Lee was talking about with the blind assassin? And I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be a bad guy. He's supposed to be there to, back up the two karate people trying to get her.
No storyline.
That's the thing. He's just out of nowhere. He's like this weird joke someone thought of because he's literally a blind assassin. Like at first I thought, he's just playing blind to get close and get at her. But no, he's legit fucking blind. And it's like, how do you think this is going to work out?
Doesn't he go see the body to make sure that he got the right body? Oh. He's just 100% confident that he got the right body.
You're just kind of poking at it with the cane, at the there.
Like you could literally feel it and be like, "This is a male. This is a female." Like there's a very obvious difference between both the fighters in this one. Like a very obvious difference. It's not as if it's one of those things where, you never know. Like it could be one or the other. No, it's straight up like a huge fucking obvious difference.
This is the Corman School of Directing, though, because there is one name attached to the directing credit on the film, but often, I mean, Jack Nicholson directed part of The Terror because, hey, we need another guy to direct some scenes. So this film could have been directed by 4, 5, maybe 6 different people. And maybe that's why it seems so disjointed, because it's that kind of Corman film.
Well, yeah, I mean,
so disjointed.
Like you're talking Demme did at least, some of the kung fu stuff in here, and it feels very flat when it falls to those scenes. Like it's not as like wild and shit as you'd kind of hope it would be. And then like you look at the opening scene, right? that Curtis Hanson did with Dick Miller, and like that was via Corman's instructions, like film this because we're trying to sell this in the U.S. and I want it to at least start out in the U.S. before we get to the Philippines, right? So we need to let the audience know. Oh no, this is an American.
It's American.
And by the way, that gives us an extra opportunity to put some tits in the film as well. You know, so.
That intro, like Gary was saying, that intro was good. Like that intro had me interested. I was excited. It was just this. I knew, obviously, you don't know. You know, it's not going to be like blow your mind, amazing movie, but you think it's going to be this fun, kind of goofy movie that you're just going to be totally immersed into. But unfortunately, it just wasn't. Like it went over all over the place. The storylines, honestly, didn't match. I fucking hated the mother. One, because the accent was really fake. It was really obviously fake. Like she just kept having it, and then it switched to kind of a different accent, and then it like would be gone entirely, and then it would switch back to trying to be Italian, like over exaggerated Italian. I will give him credit though. There was a lot of stereotypes that were played well. So the idea of keeping your daughter a virgin for like as long as fucking possible, that is true. The idea of like completely invading your daughter's space, entirely true. Which
she walks in on them in the in like the fucking bathtub when they're both naked about to fuck.
I have a funny story. So my sister posted something on Facebook about Italian mothers going through your mail, like opening your mail and going through your mail. Mm-hmm. And my sister posted it, and someone commented on it, and my mom and my sister commented saying, "Oh yeah, my mom still does this." I almost commented, "It wouldn't happen if you didn't live at home with mom," but I didn't. But it is very true. I love my mom to death, but my mom would totally do that. If I got any mail or anything, a package, whatever the case may be, does not matter. She would open it right up and be like, "Oh, what's in here? Oh, what did you get? Oh, who sent you mail?" Same with like the food. A lot of Italians, like traditional, not so much now, like just older generations of Italians, they would always comment about like, "Oh no, it has to be Italian food. I can only eat Italian food." Like I remember kind of my grandmother only ate and cooked Italian, never went outside of that. Like it was very like, I have to only have Italian. Like if I can't have Italian, it's gonna die. Like something crazy like that. So that's kind of true as well. That was played off, and I thought that was kind of cute because, again, it reminded me of my family. Mm-hmm. But I hated that they couldn't just get someone who could either do a better Italian accent or someone who actually had a fucking Italian accent, or just screw the Italian accent altogether and just kind of play that stereotypical Italian mother. Like, I would have been fine with that. Any of that. Like,
this movie was made for $5. They casted who they could cast. Basically, is what was going on.
I would have been fine with, like, a cheesy Italian accent, like the cheesy, like you kind of, they're joking, but it was just bad. It just simply bad.
Yeah. So yeah, the biggest problem here is like you got 75 minutes, you got 3 stories going on, and like there's a big tonal shift between them because, so like when it gets to the sex ring stuff, like that feels like it's skirting like the 1970s like Emmanuel films that sort of got like into hardcore exploitation, Although, this doesn't nearly go as far as any of those films go, like there's nobody jerking off a horse or, explicitly getting raped on screen. Like, the rape starts and then it camera goes away or whatever kind of thing in this film, right? Because you're trying to sell to American audiences on the drive-in and shit. So you got to keep it to some sort of level. But, yeah, like, they try to throw a bit too much into this film, honestly, is the biggest problem. Like, I would have been just happy if this was just the first story, just the sexy swinging stewardesses fucking and having fun and stuff, right? Like it was reminding me at first, like there's this softcore film from I want to say the 90s, Bikini Airwaves, which is very much like the first 10-15 minutes of this film. Very just silly, stupid, banging in airplanes kind of stuff. And then it's like, no, we got to have like an edge. We got to have some exploitation, edginess and stuff. So we got to have some crime. But I mean, I will say they do have a very brief but very good like shootout scene where they get stopped on the road there by those two cars, and they got to shoot their way out of it. I thought that was really well fucking done. But yeah, other than that, it's like very, very, very thin. Not a lot of meat on the bone with this one.
And the editing was awful. Like
it is, but to defend that a little bit, just a teeny bit, the version we watched, that's the cleaned up version from the vault materials that they had that still existed. So they actually Shout Factory that did the print for that, they cut out frames that were just way too damaged. So like you'll notice in the opening with Dick Miller in the cab and shit, when she's taking her top off, there's a couple like little jumps between her. It's like they're literally taking out frames that are just too dirty. They couldn't clean them up. And you'll notice on the print we watched, like all through it, there's lines going and everything. But
even the audio, there was one part where the voices entirely changed audio. Like you could tell it was really dubbed because they had, I forget where they were running. It was through the airport lot, I think it was, and I can't remember what it was the mother and Toby, and it was just obviously done. It wasn't even like an attempt to try and make it sound normal. It was just really obvious that it was two completely different voiceovers. Like same people, just a different day or a different area, different studio. I don't know.
They probably didn't have like the time to actually have someone on there on set to like capture the actual sound or whatever. So they probably just post ADR in at the end or whatever.
They forgot it. I think honestly they just forgot about it. They're like, okay, by the way, we need audio here.
Okay. How you fix the plot to Fly Me. Here we go in a nutshell. You got these three precocious flight attendants. They still call them stewardesses back in this day. Mm-hmm. They're going to have a four-day layover in the Philippines. So they're going to go find some D, and they're going to get all they can to get some D. But they run to follow these sex and drug traffickers, and one of them gets taken. And they got to go in their Liam Neeson style to get her out. And that's your movie. That's
way better. You just solved it.
That's your exploitation movie right there,
Yeah.
I think, honestly, if you really think about it, they could have either done something with Toby and made it like an actual like romantic, cheesy comedy, or they could have taken the other two, Andrea and Sherry?
Sherry, yeah.
Sherry, the other flight attendant, and had their own story because they actually mended. They actually blended in the end. So they actually had two plots that eventually crossed. And you could have either just done those two or literally just done one with like these two being there, but not really having the story, like just being kind of a part of it. Like there's two separate stories in this movie. It was just... I think they just tried too hard. They're like, we have three gorgeous ladies. We want to show their tits. How can we show their tits as many times as we can? Period.
Yeah. I do think, like, I do like the idea, though. Like, it was kind of a novel gimmick for, like, the prostitution ring, where their prostitution ring was, like, done through chartered flights. So it's like you're supposed to board a flight or whatever, but it's, like, under the
you
pretense...
went to, like... bought a ticket for a flight.
Yeah, you bought a ticket for a flight, but then you went to the the whorehouse or whatever. And I think like the action stuff at the end is actually fairly well done, like compared to all the stuff that preceded it in the film. I thought it was all right. But
I thought that last fight scene, there was a lot of stuff that was as if they were trying to show off what they had. So instead of making a fight scene that looked cohesive, they said, we have people who can do the stuff, so let's throw the stuff in there and then work around it. Mm-hmm. So the fight scenes, there was a lot of really over-exaggerated kicks. Just kicks. It was all kicks at the end. But it was
a lot of Captain Kirk style kicks from the original Star Trek. Like it's very much that school of fighting.
It just over the top.
Toby's guy does a kick at the end of that movie when they're escaping the drug ring or Filipino dance club, wherever the hell they're at. It is one of the ugliest things I've ever seen in my life. And I watched Snoop Dogg do a frog splash once, and that was ugly too.
There was one thing that I was really confused about, because Toby and Andrea get back onto the flight, and Sherry's not there. And the pilot is like, oh, she's not here. So they go back? Or did they go to a different part? Or because we end up in the same place that we left? Like, I'm really confused as to why we kept ending up on the airplane, because they wore their flight attendants' outfits. And we ended up on the airplane, and it was within the same vicinity of time. And we were still in the same area with the same people, and everyone was still able to find each other. Like, I don't know. I was really confused by that. They could have literally cut those scenes out entirely, because that would have made more sense. Like, I don't even know the purpose of the reason why they did that.
They had to get over 60 minutes. This is what's going on there. That's like, you know, because this was shot as like I think like a fourth run feature or whatever. Like, this was like you go to the drive-in, you see all the really good Roger Corman pictures first, and then you get this one at the end, you know, for the people who are still fucking in their cars and hanging around.
Was they making out and touching boobies?
That's right, yeah. So it's like, you know, this was meant to be like, you know, tail end of like a 2 or 3 movie ticket in a drive-in or something like that. Like, that's what it was done. And apparently, you know, I don't have any box office figures or budget figures for this, but from everything I sort of read, and even, you know, Roger Corman himself, and even though, you know, Roger Corman is very selective in how he talks about his own history and stuff like that, he usually doesn't lie about finances. Like, he'll tell you if a fucking movie failed or not, because that's his bread and butter, and that's like the most important thing to him more than anything else. And he's like, no, this made money.
The only one that didn't make any money is one of his best movies ever, which is The Intruder. So that's a good film, Lee. You want to watch a good Roger Corman film for sure.
Yeah, we did it on the podcast. Yeah,
nice.
Based off the book, or is the book based off the movie?
I think it was a book first. I think.
Yeah.
I think I own that book. I'm just kind of wondering.
It's one of William Shatner's best roles too. It's very, very good. Yeah. Do we have anything else we want to say about this, or we can get into the very brief trivia I have?
I think the movie focused, like I was saying before, it focused too much on boobs, because there could have been a really good storyline, there could have been a really good plot, but honestly I felt like they said, there was too many directors, so there was too many parts that were just filmed separately without coordination, and at the end they're just like, okay, cool, let's just throw it all together and hope we can think of something. Because I just felt the ending was really quick. Like, all of a sudden we fired out the prostitution ring, which could have actually become its story on its own, like an actual good plot. Again, with the whole like romantic comedy bit, I think you could have had a totally different story with that. You could have actually really combined the two flight attendants together and kind of foreshadowed a little bit more of what was going on, versus it was just a guessing game as to what the fuck was happening. Like, it felt insanely disjointed, and I think it was just too many cooks. And at the end of editing, it was like, okay, cool, we'll just make a fucking movie. Don't worry about if it makes sense or not.
I seen the plot. I seen who was in the movie, who made the movie. I expected what I got, and I got it, you know. But like I said, the plot is very disjointed, and it's all over the place. I would hope that they drop Sherry off in a nice, clean Filipino hospital to get clean, because they had the whole doping him up angle at the end there. You know, very much like Under the Dragon, where Mr. Han is getting all of his girls addicted to heroin so they'll be loyal to him. And it's good. It's good enough for 75 minutes to watch once and say, hey, there's better stuff out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this for it: it's not the worst Roger Corman associated film I've ever seen. Like, it's not anywhere near the bottom of the barrel as far as that's concerned. I mean, it's got all the elements that these films tend to have. It's just they're kind of jammed in there haphazardly and not fleshed out enough for the film to really kind of work all that well. But I did enjoy the boobies. I did enjoy
nice
some
boobies.
Yeah, very like, just natural 1970s bodies, beautiful bodies. So it was pretty good, and I kind of liked the soundtrack. Sounds like it's just library music that they sort of pieced together or whatever. But I kind of dug how that sort of just went on in the background. It just kind of felt to the sort of fit the tone of the whole thing, and overall, I don't hate it or anything. Like, I'm not going to say like go and look for it or anything, but I'm not going to say don't see it. If you like these kind of things, then you know what you're getting, and you'll probably enjoy it. But there's a lot worse out there. But so just for a little bit of context here on why this film exists, it's associated with Roger Corman's New World Pictures Nurses film cycle. So he started in 1970 with the student nurses, private duty nurses, and night call nurses, the young nurses, and candy stripe nurses, all coming out each subsequent year. So he had like 4 years of or 5 years of films basically here, and it was like sexy nurses doing sexy nurse stuff, and in some films they were just pure sex comedies, in other films there was rape and crime and stuff like that. And it's like, what are these young professional women going to do? These liberated women, what are they going to do? And then he was like, you know what? I can expand this because these were really popular. They're making me a lot of money. So let's get some more. Like, what other professions do women do? Student teachers, summer school teachers. So he did a couple of those movies. And then he did this. It's like, then I think this is the only stewardess movie he actually did. He did this one. And then he did, cover girl models. And then he went on to do like Hollywood Boulevard and shit like that, like actresses and stuff. So like he had this whole sort of string of these, up and coming, go getting women, getting jobs, and, finding their way in the workforce and finding love and romance and fights and all that other shit. Like all kinds of good B-movie drive-in stuff, and to varying results. Like some of those movies are fucking hot garbage, but some of them are actually pretty good. So yeah,
you knew what they were there for, though. Is there for people that not pay much attention to and wait for those milk jug the boobies, and wait for those milk jug margarita drive-ins to get warm and sour and nasty, and drink them anyway because they're there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I texted to Lee. Just text him boobies.
Oh yeah. So I don't know what we're doing next time. We'll just figure something out. I'll figure something out before next weekend. We're probably going to do something better than this film, but probably equally trashy. We'll find something. Get the stink of that fucking Citizen Kane bullshit off of the podcast. Holy fuck.
Unicron approves that and the moth fighting, okay,
My apologies. My course is almost over.
Yeah.
That was Orson Welles' last role. He played the voice of Unicron in the Transformers film, the only good one there is. So
yeah, the Transformers film, the film that is ended a lot of childhoods.
Oh man, destroyed it.
I saw that in theaters.
Destroyed it, man.
I'm still, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm still not over the fact that I saw basically all my favorite Autobots get murdered in the first 5 minutes of the film. It was like, what the fuck are they doing? They didn't kill anybody on the TV show, and then they killed everybody in the fucking like beginning of the movie. It's like, okay,
yeah, that, and I think the barbershop, vignette with Shawn Michaels betraying Marty Jannetty, one of my worst childhood experiences ever,
Yeah.
Like, what? Damn it!
You son of a bitch. Yeah, but Gary, thank you very much for coming on. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Please tell people about your plethora of podcasts, one that I'm a part of as well, and pimp all your wares, sir.
He's so modest right now with put his hands up and such, Sin and Beef podcast show I've been doing for a while. I'm going to change that promo. I can't stand to listen to it anymore on podcast. It's as old as the show is, and I was sick when I recorded. So, yeah. That, 2 Drink Venom commentaries, the show I do with Leah and Cameron, which is Last Call at Torchies, which is a Walter Hill. It's a big Walter Hill show. We do all of his films, and we do some side stuff for the Patreon. If you're not a member of Legion Patreon, it's so you can get the Drive episode, the Ryan Gosling film. We're doing The Wanderers for that next, because we're doing The Warriors is the next one up at the K, and I'll put this out to you, to your listeners, and to Lee, the lady Lee, of course, that we take audio submissions for this show. It's a new thing. So if you want to record a review for The Warriors, if you've seen The Warriors before, Lee, or you want to watch The Warriors, want to watch a good film, you can submit your audio to the show and it'll be played on the air.
Ooh.
So, check it out. Last
There we
Call
go.
Torches. Yeah. Last one, Blood from the Core, which is a Legion Patreon-owned show with myself and Derek Bourgeois from the Cinema Attack podcast. Those are all New York city-based horror and thriller films. Although we are going to do some side stuff with that. We got one planned because I lost the Q episode, then I found the Q episode. So you're getting a bonus on the regular Legion feed, which is our Bridge and Tunnel version, where we're doing Alice, Sweet Alice, because it takes place in Jersey. So there's that. And that's everything, I think. And I'm tired just from talking about it, so.
Right on. You need anything to plug this week, Lee? Or?
Just the same. You can find me on my Instagram at Mighty Tiny All-Star. I basically keep you guys posted on when new podcasts come out. Yeah, that's about it. And pictures of my dog.
Yeah, she's our social media baroness.
Instagram. Just the Instagram. You
On
can do
Instagram.
Facebook.
Yeah, that's all the kids use now is Instagram. It's fine.
But you do the Facebook stuff, I do the Instagram stuff.
I had a thought of doing 1 minute TikTok video, 1 minute reviews on TikTok. We'll see what happens, you know. Really rando shit on there. I'll do it all in haiku just to make people, you know.
Oh,
confused.
Jesus. Well,
Genius.
If you can do haiku reviews, I'd love to see it. That'd be interesting. But yeah, you can find us at tmbdos.podbean.com, where you can find our Apple Podcasts, Facebook, YouTube links. Join the Facebook group. Best way to get in touch with us, find out what's coming up on the show, and, you know, give us suggestions for stuff to review. You know, if you feel so inclined, you can always go onto the old Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review. Give us anything less than 5 stars, I don't want to fucking hear about it. You're a piece of shit, and you can die. But if you give us 5 stars, you know, that helps, I guess, with the rankings so people can, like, hear our shows or something. And if you do give us a review, please, like, let me know that you did it so I can actually... I forgot. I actually have to reinstall iTunes onto this fucking computer because it's my new PC that I've had for a while now, but I never put iTunes on it. So I need to go on that. But I mean, if you're from another, you know, region, like if you're outside the US or whatever the fuck, tell me, or, you know, outside of Canada, actually. If you're outside of Canada, tell me where the fuck you're doing your review from, because iTunes is still stupidly region locked and you can't read reviews from Great Britain or Japan or whatever unless you switch the regions, which is the dumbest piece of shit ever. But, you know, let me know so I can read them and read them on the podcast and say thank you and all that good stuff. But, yeah. So we're going to end it. And we will be back when we're back. Thank you again, Gary. Thank you, Lee. And thank you all for listening. Goodbye.
2, 3, 4.
She don't wear no pants, she don't wear no tie. Always on the ball, she's always on strike. Strutting up the aisle, big deal, you get to fly. You ain't nothing but a waitress in the sky. You ain't nothing but a waitress in the sky. Pay my fare, don't wanna complain. You get to me, you're always out of champagne. Treat me like a bum, don't wear no tie. 'Cause you ain't nothing but a waitress in the sky. You ain't nothing but a waitress in the sky. Oh, oh. And the sign says thank you very much for not smoking. My own son says I'm sorry I'm smoking. Don't treat me special or don't kiss my ass. Treat me like the way they treat them up in first class. Sanitation expert and a maintenance engineer. Garbage man, a janitor, and you, my dear. A reunion flight attendant, my oh my. You ain't nothing but a waitress in the sky. You ain't nothing but a waitress in the sky. You ain't nothing but a waitress in the sky. Oh,
Thank you for listening to They Must Be Destroyed on Sight. For further episodes, our Apple Podcasts, Facebook, and YouTube links, please go to tmbdos.podbean.com. Thank you. Drive through.